In the hustle and bustle of the modern workplace, it's easy to lose sight of the importance of mindful eating. And many professionals find themselves consuming their meals on autopilot or making hasty, less than ideal food choices. To help us understand how to maintain healthy eating habits in the workplace, we are joined now by Omy Naidoo, who's Newtricion Wellness Dieticians Director. A pleasure to have you on the program this evening, Omy. Firstly, tell us, why is mindful eating so important, especially in workplace settings?
A very good evening to you and your viewers, and thanks for having me on the show. You know, if we just set the background, we've got 68% of women in South Africa and 31% of men in South Africa are obese. I'll repeat that, 68% of the women are obese and 31% of the men are obese. And this goes a lot further than aesthetics. This increases their risk for diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and we spend a lot of our waking hours at work. So the food choices we make in this time is pivotal in order to get us into a healthier version of ourselves.
So what are the common nutritional pitfalls, if you will, that office workers often fall into?
So I think we're not mindful of calories. We tend to eat on the go because of the work schedule. So we tend to have foods very high in fat, high in sugar, and this then increases the calorie content. Also, something very common in the workplace, I know before you started this interview, you mentioned you had a sandwich and a coffee, but the cappuccinos on the go seems to be the trend in the workplace. And if you look at it in terms of calories, that contains 180 calories, which is roughly 2.5 to 3 slices of bread at a time. I'll repeat that, 180 calories in a cappuccino, a large one, which is the same as consuming about 3 slices of bread. So often we are having these hidden calories, not knowing it. And then with us eating on the go, we kind of have this mindless eating where we eat in front of our desk or our laptop and our mind is not with that meal. We're not in tune with hunger and satiety, which is the feeling of fullness. So yeah, I think that's the main issue. It's calories and also not being mindful to when we're eating to be in tune with the hunger and satiety.
Well, Omy, I must say, you've got me feeling a bit embarrassed about my food choices for this afternoon. But on a more serious note, how does poor nutrition affect an employee's productivity and even their overall well-being?
So when we're looking at focus, productivity, work performance, it's all related to fluctuations in blood glucose levels. So if you're somebody that's having big fluctuations where, as an example, you skip lunch, you skip breakfast, and then you have a very low sugar level, and then suddenly you've got to eat a quick muffin or have a cool drink just to boost you up, or an energy drink. Those fluctuations worsen your concentration and your productivity. And the solution to that is having a high fiber diet. So things like your brown grains, having lots of nuts, fruit, lots of vegetables in your diet at work as well. In that way, you are making sure that your sugar levels are stabilized, but also that your focus and concentration is consistent throughout the day. I'm sure we've heard about omega-3, which is your brain superfood. So also trying to include things like fish and so fish such as tuna, mackerel, salmon would also have a benefit in improving the brain performance at work.
So can you share some easy and even healthy snack options for busy professionals?
You know, my motto is, I always try to keep it simple. Essentially, you've got to plan well, but also simple things like, can you take a fruit to work with you, dried fruit, nuts, yogurt. These are things that you can always have in your desk or have in the office fridge, but it's things that are healthy, they're nutritious, and they're also lower in calories. Other things could include vegetables such as carrot sticks with hummus. Popcorn is a great snack because it's low in calories, high in fiber. And then also not forgetting homemade smoothies. You know, that's definitely a trend now. But I would always advocate to make it at home so you can control what you put in and be mindful of the calories again. So tons of options. And I hope that with every interview I do, the message is to connect to a dietitian to walk that journey with you.
It's very important. But how can employees incorporate this concept, the mindful eating practices, into their daily routine as well?
So I think, overall it starts with planning. The number one is planning. But, even at a bigger level, we're seeing that employers are catching on to the trend that a healthy, better employee is somebody who's going to benefit the organization. A study from Harvard showed that for every $1 spent in employee wellness programs, it yielded a $6 return in the bottom line. And that was through reduced absenteeism as well as increase work performance. So showing us that when companies invest in employee wellness programs, it actually helps the bottom line. So, it's a twofold approach. One, the employee and the individual taking ownership, but also the employer. It works to see what's in the canteens, what type of break systems do we have. It's a complete system that needs to be overhauled if we're going to turn the curve of obesity in South Africa.
Well, Omy, depending on where you work, it is a common occurrence to have an email pop in to tell you about a wellness day or wellness program that might be happening at your company. What are the benefits of indeed participating in these workplace wellness programs?
So what happens at these workplace wellness programs is that they do a lot of screenings. And the biggest problem we have, not only South Africa, but globally, is most of the diabetics are actually walking around not knowing they're diabetics. Most of the young professional hypertensive, high blood pressure patients are walking around not knowing they're having high blood pressure. And over years, this causes stress onto the body. It increases strokes, it increases heart attacks. And the whole thing with the wellness days is that it creates awareness, number one. But number two, it helps to prevent issues. So we as dietitians are intrinsic in wellness days, working with big organizations where we actually create weight loss programs and weight loss challenges to create this ethos of healthy eating and healthy living for employees.
But how can employers themselves support their staff in making healthier food choices?
So I think it starts definitely with your break routines. We can't say that we want employees to eat healthy, but we're still expecting them to have a 15-minute lunch break because the workloads are so intense. I think it's also encouraging the work-life balance, because we know that when people are stressed, their food choices are not necessarily healthy. I'm not sure about you, but when I'm stressed, I'm looking for something sweet, something fatty, something to comfort me. So it's also about making sure that we have that work-life balance from the employer side. But also, for the canteens, are we providing healthy foods that's accessible to the employees?
Right.
So if we're saying we want them to eat healthy, but giving them unhealthy options at the canteen, it kind of defeats the purpose.
Let's speak about liquids now. What role does hydration play in indeed maintaining concentration, but also your energy levels at work?
So absolutely. So if you dehydrated, it certainly affects your concentration. And we've got to be mindful. We see this growing trend of energy drinks as well as caffeine. So coffee, being the go-to thing to boost your concentration. Often these do have a surge in your concentration level for probably an hour to an hour and a half, but it comes with a serious dip. And these dips then create more of an habitual behavior where you need to have more coffee, more energy drinks. And in actual fact, these caffeine and high energy drinks cause more dehydration through urination. So we've got to be mindful and make sure we're getting to at least 8 glasses of water to keep us focused, keep us well hydrated.
And can you give examples of how poor eating habits can lead to, call it, long-term health issues?
Absolutely. So, what we spoke about, if you're looking at the office employee, you're not having a very active job. On the other end, you're eating very high-calorie foods. So on a consistent basis, you are taking in more calories than you're burning off. This then predisposes that individual to being overweight or obese. And the main health issues we have are diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, but also numerous cancers are linked to being obese and overweight. So, it starts with what we eat, and the impact on disease is significant.
And lastly, Omy, how can individuals then balance the convenience of fast food with the need for proper nutrition?
So, there's this old Chinese proverb, he who doesn't make time for healthy eating must later make time in life for illness. So it's quite a profound one, but essentially it means we've got to create a mindfulness of how often we're eating out. And when we are eating out, can we adopt something called the plate model? It essentially means half your plate veg or salad. Just to remember, potatoes are not veg or salad. A quarter of your plate, your protein, so that's your meat, chicken or fish, and another quarter of your plate being your starch. If you can try and abide by that kind of philosophy in the plate model, even when you're eating out, you could be a lot more healthier.
Thank you so much for your time, Omy, and really sharing valuable tips on maintaining a healthy diet in the workplace.